Welcome back to the channel, you guys, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. If you are new here, it's nice to meet you. My name is Austin, and if there's one thing that you guys should know about me, it's the fact that I'm a huge, and I mean like mega advocate for small animals. Anything small and furry and cute, I want like a million of them. And as an advocate, I believe it is my duty and my calling in life to speak up for these animals that do not have a voice. And with that involves doing some hard-hitting videos and just documenting some not so great stuff. But I do believe that it is just as important to document the bad stuff as it is the good stuff, so we can all learn together. And having been at this for a couple years now and being involved in the small animal community, I can say that it's not always rainbows and butterflies and walking through fields of daisies. I wish it was, but unfortunately that is not the reality. These animals actually go through a whole lot of bad stuff, and I do feel, again, it is my duty to really show that off to you guys, which is why I have created the series, which I do bring you guys undercover into local pet stores across the country and really expose the harsh and hidden realities of what these animals have to endure in a system that sees them as products and not pets. You'd think that these pet stores would be holding it together and doing their jobs, but there's so much shady and bad stuff that happen in the care of these pet stores, and that's the whole point of this series, is to show that off to you guys and really show what's happening behind the curtains and to kind of lift up that veil that not all pet stores are doing the right thing. From overcrowded cages and lack of proper care to profit-driven neglect, these animals have to go through so much that they do not deserve. And I am here as a single person aiming to raise awareness and to push for accountability and also create change on how these animals are housed and sold. So hopefully with every episode that we do create and I do make, we can do that eventually and actually be at a point where these animals do not have to go through these unfair circumstances and deal with diseases and neglect and improper care and improper diet and foods and everything involved that I see on a daily basis that is just not fair to these animals. I hope that we can reach a point where like they no longer have to go through that. So yeah, let's strap in and most importantly, stay quiet because we're going undercover in today's video. I haven't even worked my way like 20 feet into the store, and the first thing that hit me when I walked through those doors wasn't what I saw, it was what I smelled. It was the strongest and most sour stench of like soiled bedding, urine, and like who knows what else filled the air. I honestly cannot even fully describe it. It was just really foul smelling. That kind of odor doesn't happen overnight. It builds up when animals are left in filthy enclosures with no proper cleaning routine, and to me, that was the first red flag.
You can check out all the animals. It's a fun place to be.
Well, apparently I am at the most fun place to be, according to one of the employees. I didn't realize the most fun place to be was something that smelled like a actual garbage truck. I made my way towards the back of the store where the animals were kept, and what I saw was worse than anything I could have prepared myself for. Lining the walls were hundreds of tanks, guys, stacked on top of each other like some kind of nightmarish skyscraper of suffering. It wasn't just overwhelming, it was suffocating being inside of there. Each enclosure held way too many animals. They were crammed together in filthy conditions, barely able to move. Animals looked like they were just not happy whatsoever being in an environment like that. The glass was smeared with grime, and behind it were animals pacing and trembling, and some were even trying to claw their way out. You could literally feel the anxiety in the room, like they were all silently screaming for help.
Salt water over there, there's all kinds of critters here. My favorite are bearded dragons.
One of the employees offered to show me the different animals, and at first she seemed genuinely excited. She even mentioned that bearded dragons were her favorite, which made me hopeful for a second, like a very split second. I thought maybe there's someone here who actually cares. Then she brought me over to the enclosure and my heart sank. Inside was not one, but several bearded dragons all cramped into one single tank. Now, I'm no reptile expert, but what I do know is that bearded dragons are solitary creatures. They're not social like guinea pigs or rabbits. They thrive alone and not in groups. It literally takes one Google search to look up this information. Housing them together can lead to extreme stress, aggression, or even death. They'll fight over basking spots, food, and dominance, and the weaker one, well, they usually lose, sometimes getting injured, sometimes starved, and sometimes eaten alive. So to hear someone say they love bearded dragons and that it's their favorite animal and keeping them like this, it's heartbreaking, because love isn't stacked animals together for convenience. Love is understanding their needs and respecting them enough to meet those needs.
Hi.
Yeah, the rats are my favorite.
Next, I was introduced to the rats, and what I saw was deeply upsetting. They were being kept on the floor in these cramped 20-gallon tanks, which for adult rats is far from adequate. These weren't tiny babies either. They were full-grown large rats piled on top of each other, clearly desperate for space. Here are some examples of proper rat cages that they should be housed in. Loads of space, lots of enrichment, and of course the opportunity to express natural behaviors like climbing and nesting and playing. Rats are highly intelligent and social animals. They need multi-level setups, soft bedding, hiding spots, chew toys, and things to explore, not a barren glass tank on the floor. When given the right environment, rats thrive. They bond with humans, build relationships with each other, and live much longer and happier lives. What I saw at that store could not be further from what they deserve. I asked the employee a few questions trying to get more information, and she actually offered to let me hold them. The moment she lifted the lid off the tank, the rats surged upwards like they were shouting freedom with their tiny bodies. You could tell they wanted out really badly. I was grateful to be able to hold two of them, even if it was just for a moment, and offer them what little comfort I could, just to be in the hands of someone who actually cares and who sees them not as merchandise, but as an animal that is deserving of respect and compassion.
Hi, Piggy.
These are some more guinea pigs. Oh, you squawk box.
Oh, these ones are like twins.
I don't know. They're probably born here too. Like some
Yeah.
of them are.
Inside the store were multiple guinea pigs living in what I can only describe as the most depressing enclosure I have ever seen. It was filthy, dimly lit, and had poor ventilation with minimal space and hardly anything inside. No hides, no toys, no hay piles to burrow in or tunnels to explore. These animals, who are naturally curious, social, and expressive, were just existing here. They weren't doing much. They were just kind of staring out at nothing, and you could just see in their eyes that they wanted out of that place. Guinea pigs are not meant to live like this. They are prey animals, which means they need to feel safe, hidden, and secure, but they also thrive on enrichment. They need space to run, soft fleece or bedding to rest on, fresh hay to graze throughout the day, and stimulating toys that keep their minds engaged. They're vocal, affectionate creatures who bond with each other and their humans. They have personalities, but in these tanks, it all gets stripped away. Living in isolation with no stimulation or comfort is a guaranteed path to depression for guinea pigs, and when people think of small animals, they often underestimate what these creatures actually need. It took everything in me not to scoop them up right then and there and bring them home and just show them what they should be getting, to give them space to zoom, tunnels to hide in, fresh veggies, companionship, and the warmth of a loving environment, because they deserve so much more than a dirty tank in a pet store where no one seems to care. It was no different for the rabbits. They were living in filthy and grimy and just depressing enclosures. It was just like these animals had no life to them. They were just like sitting still, not doing much. I compare it to my own two buns, Vinny and Snooky, and I just see how much I provide for them and also how active they are. By providing this enrichment and just being in a loving and supportive home, you can see just how much animals flourish. But here, there's just no way to do so. Now, I'm not an animal expert and I'll never claim to be, but I do know the difference between a thriving animal and a non-thriving animal, and so many of the animals that I witnessed here at this pet store were just not thriving. And here's the thing, this isn't just the fault of one pet store. It's an entire industry built on cutting corners and turning profit and relying on the public not knowing any better. These animals are being bred by the thousands at these breeding mills, and they're being shipped off in boxes and being dropped off to pet stores for these unknowing customers to then buy these animals and purchase them with getting zero information on how to properly take care of them, which then creates a cycle of this ever so excruciating and very painful life that these animals have to endure because no one is doing the proper research before purchasing these animals. And then you got these pet stores who are showcasing this level of care, and these people walking into these stores not knowing any better and thinking what they're seeing is perfectly fine and the care that they should be getting. This is me having and creating a voice for these animals who don't have one, and to also to get people to know to stop shopping at these pet stores because it's only continuing this cycle. So if you are thinking about adding a small animal to your family, please, and I cannot stress this enough, please go about the adoption route. There are so many rescues and shelters overflowing with guinea pigs and rabbits and dogs and cats and reptiles. Like literally any species you can think of is probably most likely at one of your local shelters or rescues, so please inquire with them. When you adopt, you're not just saving one life, but you're actually putting an end to this broken system that these animals fall into. Thank you guys so much for watching and caring and for being a part of this fight with me. The more we speak up, the harder it becomes for these pet stores to operate in the dark, and the closer we get to actually solving this issue. I'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, keep being the voice of these animals who don't have one, and as always, I hope you and your piggies are are happy, safe, and healthy. Bye, guys.